Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Leon and Naota. And you know Daniel Lynn would definitely chime in and out as he usually does. Hope you guys are well. Leon, you went missing last week, but you were living it up in Jamaica, so we'll let you off, man. But we're just saying off air to you guys that
I was working. I wasn't just fucking lounging around.
Yeah, but working in Jamaica is like not really working, is it? Come on.
There's some long ass days, man.
Yeah, and all the
that
stuff
weed's
you
good as well.
Yeah, I was gonna
man.
say
that
all that
weed's
stuff
good.
you smoked afterwards as well. That probably didn't help.
Oh, it's fucked, man.
But yeah, just saying to you guys off air that on paper, I really look forward to the card at the forum, the Golden Boy card, and when the PBC card got announced, I was kind of critical of it. I thought, Guerrero versus Figueroa main event, Shawnee versus Brown was a good fight, and I just thought overall, I was so impressed with Berchelt against Vargas, and I thought, with Sullivan Barrera and Joe Smith Jr. on the undercard, and I thought Castellanos and thingy on as a co-main as well. Sorry, what was his name?
Corrales
as a co-main. I thought, overall it's a really good card. But yeah, as the fights unraveled, the PBC card really got my attention, man. I know it's the one that you've seen the most. We've all kind of had difficulties this weekend catching different fights. I know time constraints was one of your issues. I had issues with some of the fights on the ITV card. But let's just get into the PBC card first then. Leon, top of the bill, Figueroa versus Guerrero.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to... You've got to give Figueroa all the credit, haven't you? But, I mean, I think it's up for a topic how prepared and how past it Guerrero is. But Figueroa did what he had to do, and I thought those little hooks, those little uppercuts on the inside were lethal. And, he got hit a few times, but he took what Guerrero had. And Guerrero went into his fight saying he was going to box smart, he was going to be the boxer. Well, no one saw that, did they, from him? He just went to war and got badly beaten up.
To be fair, he kind of started out that way. Like the first half of the first round, it looked like, oh shit, he's gonna box him. He's gonna try and pick him off from the outside. But
he got dragged in quick, didn't he?
Yeah, it's like once he got a little bit of success, he's like, I'm gonna go in and beat the crap out of this guy now. And
even the entire first round, I thought he was doing really well. Like the left uppercut, right hook was working well. He was kind of pivoting off his front foot after he finished his work, and yeah, it just went to shit in the second round. Are we all agreed that his punch resistance is out the window now, and his chin's cracked?
Oh. No, we're losing. He's gone. Yeah, no, he's cracked. But I mean, I think the body work is the thing, isn't it? That was that really got to him.
I thought it was the head punches, man. Everything he was getting hit with, and a lot of Figueroa's punches, they weren't really rotating from the waist. It was kind of just arm punches a lot of the time, and he was visibly hurt with a lot of them. I know he was doing the wrong thing. He was kind of bending over frontwards, not looking. He was basically looking down, and that's one of the worst things you can do. But I've seen Guerrero take bigger punches than Furman hit him with a lot bigger punches. That I don't really think Figueroa is a big puncher, and he was rocking him out. I was just shocked, man. I thought his punch resistance is 0 now.
It's got to be, because I think some of those punches that Figueroa was hurting him with weren't full meaty punches, were they? They were just little things on the inside, and they seemed to shake him to his boots.
Yeah, there was that the first knockdown in the second round, that left uppercut. Really, from the left side, he shouldn't generate that much power. If you're going to get dropped with a big uppercut, it's normally, for an orthodox fight, it's normally from the right-hand side, and he looked like he got shot when he got hit with that shot, and this is crazy, man. I was shocked.
Yeah, well, I mean, Figueroa's pretty ambidextrous, though. I mean, he's always kind of had power in both hands, at least as before my connection started acting all crazy. He had been kind of known as a big puncher on his way up, and it seemed like, that kind of fell by the wayside when he started breaking his hands in every fight. But it looked like he kind of returned to form here against Guerrero. He just blasted him. And the inside is pretty much the name of his game because he'll use a lot of the same defensive maneuvers on the outside as he does on the inside, except you're not really supposed to use those same moves on the outside as you are on the inside. But on the inside, they work fantastically. The way that he kind of dodges, rolls, and slips and everything, and then rolls into his own shots. And, I mean, just the amount of power that he generated on him. Guerrero looked like he really didn't even recover. It seemed like he kind of did at the start of the third round when he clipped him with that big left hand again. Yeah. But it's like as soon as he touched him, it's like he would just like press the hurt button basically, and Guerrero was pretty much done. And even though you could potentially say like, Guerrero's punch resistance is gone and everything. I mean, it looked like that might have been the case too against Aaron Martinez, but yet Danny Garcia wasn't doing that to him after that fight. So. I mean, I think that you have to at least give a certain degree of credit to Figueroa as well for fucking finishing the job and just laying waste to somebody that was there kind of for the taking.
Yeah, he didn't let him off the hook, did he? Some of those other welterweights have kind of let him, he just went in there and just took him out. I mean, I always thought that body shot was a thing of beauty, but, I mean, he was getting, like Cam said, he was getting hurt to the head, he was getting hurt to the body, he was just getting hurt. I mean, I think you've got to give a fair share amount of credit to Figueroa, even though I think we would all admit that Guerrero looks well and truly past it.
Yeah, which is sad to say because I really like Guerrero as a guy. Like he just seems like a proper cool guy that you'd be friends with. But if he continues doing this shit, and his dad's a trainer, man. Like we don't know, his dad might have told him to retire from long time ago, but I think his family needs to step in now because he's just starting to take a beating, man. His consecutive losses, that Aaron Martinez fight was a loss as well in most people's eyes, and it's just constant beatings. But Leota, I think the commission needs to check Figueroa's gloves, man. I think they were loaded. All those candy bars he's been eating, man, they were just all strapped into the gloves.
Yeah, possibly, man. He was fighting like he was starving for him or something. Like Joel told him that if he scored a knockout, he'd get an extra one of those big, like huge ones that you get, like where it's like supposed to feed a whole party or whatever. But yeah, I mean the funny thing about Guerrero though is it seems like a lot of that style change came with his dad. Like it was like it was Ruben that was kind of promoting him to fight in that fashion as he moved up the weight classes and everything. And I mean, of course, part of it comes with the fact that he was getting paid way more too. And I'd imagine that, he felt like he wasn't necessarily going to be able to range out guys that were naturally a bit bigger than him and, just had just as long of a reach as he did, up at welterweight as compared to lightweight and featherweight. But even still, really, like, I think he probably could have had a more longevity had he adjusted his style more appropriately and also adjusted his weight class more appropriately too. And I mean, oddly enough, I mean, even talking about the fact that like, he doesn't necessarily have the build and the power and everything to be competing as a welterweight. I mean, technically, neither should Omar Figueroa. I mean, this is another guy that's basically a fat lightweight, and really, Guerrero, like, frankly, looked at more acclimated to that weight class than Figueroa did. Even Figueroa afterwards said that he was going to try and drop down to 140, which for him may be a fantastic move because 140 may be a wide open division again in the near future. Depending on what happens with Crawford and Dongo and the likelihood of either or both of them moving up right afterwards. So, he definitely has an opening the perfect opening probably for his comeback.
Leon, what would be a war? Figueroa versus Josh Taylor.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. On the inside, that'd be a great inside fight.
That'd be a great fucking fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you'd want that to happen. You'd think, that's a good fight.
That's on some Frampton undercard somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll have a chance to talk about what I saw. Yeah. The previous weekend later on.
But you got anything else to say about this fight?
No, not really. I think the thing for me was the fight for me on this card was the heavyweight fight. That's a thing that got me most excited.
You hate heavyweights though, man. What's going on?
I know I do. I do hate heavyweights, but I just like this guy's style. He came to fight. I like a heavyweight throw punches.
Yeah, Adam Kovnowski is a very atypical of a heavyweight fighter.
Yeah, because we were talking just off air there. I mean, he threw an amazing amount of punches.
Yeah, I mentioned him last week when we were previewing him, and I said he had a hilarious box rec photo, and it does look like
he does. He doesn't look like a fighter. He looks like somebody that'd be like delivering pizzas. You know what I mean?
I'm just watching it now,
and eating half of it on the way to your house.
Yeah,
I'm watching it now. I'm watching it now. He threw nearly 80 punches in round 3. I think in round 2 he threw over 100 punches.
Yeah, for heavyweights, I think that's amazing. But if I'm just being a bit honest, like technique wise and fundamentals wise, like a lot of them are arm punches, and he throw them just to throw them. But it's effective, man, because how many heavyweights out there are throwing that money, that kind of output that.
Yeah.
You saw kind of Spilka kind of, he did okay for a couple of rounds, but as soon as he held his feet, like, and I know he was being a bit stupid and kind of like put his hands down and kind of was goading Adam Kowalski, but you know, how do you pronounce the name? Kowalski?
Kovnatsky.
And Spilka kind of, you know, he fucked himself on that one, but end of the day, dude, like, hit him with multiple shots, dropped him, and then finished him off, man. And for a guy where you look at him, you don't think of him as, like, this, you know, there's a lot of fat heavyweights out there, man, but a lot of them are just whack, man. They're just big dudes that have got a big punch, but for a guy that's throwing so many punches and being that big, man, it's kind of fun to see, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, like... Yeah. Funny enough, he kind of reminds me of like back when Chris Arella like first emerged, like back when he was still in the 220s. You know, he was still relatively in some sort of shape, where he would just swarm you with punches and the combinations. Even though some of them were arm punches, they would set up big punches in the midst of them. You know, because like, oh, okay, you think that this guy has so much power, this much power, but then it's like all of a sudden he sits on something really heavy and he hits you with something that you really didn't expect. And it seemed like that kind of what happened with him and Spilka, because Spilka was kind of up on his toes and everything. It looked a little bit skittish, but at the same time, it looked like he at first kind of felt his power and thought like, okay, this guy doesn't have that much, and then he got hit with something else, and it was a whole different scenario, and he just kind of slowly got flooded, basically, like got drawn into the quicksand.
I'm just watching it again now, and he's good. He's good coming forward, you know. I think it's very subtle, but he manages to get Spilka where he wants him, you know.
Yeah, he kind of throws those 1-2-1-2s. A lot of them, a lot of straight punches. And when you're going back in straight lines, it's hard to defend her against, man, because you might block the first 2, but then the next 2 are coming through, man. And he is very effective. Like Beats Boxing in the Mixler chat just said, "What's crazy is Spilka is like Wilder's second best win." Lol. Wilder's resume is hilarious. It's crazy, man. You know, this dude just iced. I know Wilder eventually iced him, but for a few rounds he was struggling with Spilka.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy was just like wasn't kind of perplexed by Spilka's movement, right? He's like, right, okay, you move around as much as you like. I know when I'm going to go for you, and then you just catch him, wouldn't he, and get him to the ropes in every round.
Yeah, like.
And I know their arm punches can, but the good thing about him is I think he'll be a difficult guy to counter, because if he gets you to the ropes, they're coming quick, those punches, and then then he'll pull you in or get away. You know, I think he could be a test for a lot of people. Not right now, but you know, a couple more fights, because he's had a bit of a weird career, right?
And the thing is, like in the midst of trying to counter that, like I mean, he is throwing in a combination. So if you miss him, you're going to get hit with something even flusher than you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I like him.
And I know it was 2 Poles fighting, and there was a big Polish contingent out there, but the crowd were amazing, man. It reminded me of a fight over here where you could feel the atmosphere in the arena, and it's a kind of fight that you would want to attend.
Yeah, they were feeling it. They were feeling it for sure.
Yeah, I heard it kind of emptied out a bit after that fight happened, but still though, it's nice to see, because American crowd sometimes can be a bit subdued. Not on the level of German crowds, but, you know, getting there sometimes.
Yeah. He threw 224 punches in basically 3 and a bit rounds and landed over 28% of them. I know punch stats aren't, like, I don't use punch stats to score, but you're just looking at his physical output. that's
Yeah.
impressive for a guy.
I mean, for land,
Equal rounds,
it's not the
yeah.
greatest,
Yeah.
judgment but for like throne, I think that's a fairly okay stat to use. I mean, just for what you're actually doing, like what you're attempting to do at the very least.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit early, Leon, but realistically, who would you like to see him fight next?
I was thinking either the Jarrell Miller versus Gerald Washington winner.
Yeah, I was thinking
or
that.
somebody like Izu Ugono, the one that Dominic Brazil just beat, knocked out.
Yeah, that'd be a fun fight. There's a lot of heavyweights on that fringe kind of level where there'd be a lot of good fights made, or there can be a lot of good fights made.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fairly solid kind of level of contender / fringe contender types out there. Maybe Eric Molina.
Yeah,
fact,
Molina.
if they wanna just start lining up former Wilder opponents.
They've got enough. They've got time to give him tests without throwing him completely in the deep end. You know,
I won't mind.
There's enough guys in the States to work with him.
I won't mind seeing Prince Charles laid out again. To be honest,
that guy, man. But yeah, no, that was really. I didn't see that come. Didn't know anything about him. Didn't know much about the fight. So yeah,
him and Dillian would be pretty good, I think.
Oh yeah, he would ice Dillian, I think.
He would, yeah.
Yeah, just because I think he looked like he took some flush shots. He looks like he got a decent chin. And are we saying that White punches much harder than Spilker? Not much harder.
Yeah, but probably the same, maybe.
Yeah, because I think he would. Yeah, I think that could be easy for him. Okay.
Well, you know what, Leon? You talk about like you weren't expecting much from the fight. They're the best fights. You know, when you go into it.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Who's this nobody? And it's like they entertain you. And you're like, oh shit, I'm on the bandwagon.
Yeah, you get surprised. Yeah,
they're the best. Most of the time, like big.
Well,
fights
especially when you haven't necessarily seen them before too. You know, that tends to.
Oh, like me, judge him off as a box rec photo.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys got anything else regarding this fight? Spilkan?
Nah.
All right. No. Just impressive.
The other fight on this card, Shawnee Monahan versus Marcus Brown. Leon, kick it off.
Well, look, you know, we've had. He's kind of been a kind of friend of the show and stuff, and like through KH and stuff. But you know, I think he was just he was out of his depth, wasn't he? Really, it was either a very, very, very good performance from one fight or a poor performance from the other. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of the two. But you know, he kind of froze a bit, you know, like a rabbit in the headlights a little bit. Yeah. But that guy's got quick hands, you know.
Yeah. I think if anything, the event actually might have even got to him because like he just kind of walked forward at Marcus Brown, not really like showing very much of like a degree of hiding kind of the way he was trying to cut off the rein. There was no subtlety to what he was doing. He just walked at him and he got hit with a huge left hand from full extension at full distance. And you know, Brown, he knows how to use that distance in order to get leverage on those shots. And you know, that's why I was saying like last week that it was going to be probably fairly torrid for Monahan, but I felt like he was going to be able to at least cut the distance off a bit better than he did. And he didn't, and that was the end of him, basically. It was the beginning was the end. You know, he took him out quickly. He didn't mess around, and it's like once he hurt him with that first shot, it's like he caught him cold, and he caught him unaware, and he didn't necessarily have the wherewithal in order to be able to properly survive in order to vary up whatever he was going to be doing. And Brown just finished the job. And, you know, he has the power to do that, so there it was.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with Shawnee, as you guys alluded to. I don't know whether it's just familiarity that he's sparred with Marcus so many times. He just started like he was too comfortable. And Marcus started in Terminator mode. He just blitzed him. He just went in there, took him apart, and his defense was pretty weak, man. Like the jabs were getting through. Obviously, that big left hand got through, and he got up too quick after he got dropped. And yeah, I was expected to maybe him sit on Marcus's chest a bit, but he never even got the opportunity, man. Because I just think he went a bit too lax at the start of the fight. Sometimes that can happen, especially if you're fighting a dude that you're friends with and you spar with him. Like the first few rounds of sparring can kind of go slow, and then you kind of get into it afterwards. So maybe it was just in that mentality. No excuses for him. When you look at the record,
walked in sparring mode, like, all right, let's warm up here, and then boom.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but he kept moving to his right, didn't he? He kept on was it to the right? He kept on moving into the punch, didn't he?
Into the left hand,
punching himself.
Pretty basic error, man.
And because I thought Danny, who in the interviews, those little interviews I saw was horrible, but on the mic in the fight, he was very good with like his analysis of what was happening. Like he picked up on that Monahan moving. Yeah, he picked up on Monahan moving to the wrong side within the first, 30, 40 seconds. First couple of exchanges, he picked up on that. Mm-hmm. So he did a really good job, I thought. It was actually a fighter telling us something about what's happening in the ring. We're not used to that over here.
Yeah. The commentary from him was fairly solid, and that's even saying that with Danny not necessarily being the most verbose person on the planet, and no,
but that's what I mean. He kept it to very technical. He kept it to boxing and shit, didn't he? He didn't try and flower it up. He just kept it to right. I know what happened then, and just told us.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because a lot of times guys that tend to be a bit more capable in speaking and more comfortable with it, they'll go on with these long, drawn out, droning examples and stuff that they want to talk about and be all flowery with it when they're not actually even calling what's going on in front of them. He just did the damn thing.
And just quickly back to the Figueroa Guerrero fight, he was saying in that, he goes, look, I've sparred Figueroa, and he was like this in sparring. He takes a couple of rounds to have a look at you, to feel what you've got, and then he comes into it. And I just thought it was really refreshing to see a guy talk about the sparring that he'd had live on air, to bring that into the mix of the discussion. And then you can go, well, that's a genuine, we can take that as gospel because, that's what he's being very fair and talking about stories that he's experienced himself. I was very impressed, and I'm no big, Danny fan, but he did a very good job.
Bend your knees, Leon.
Bend your knees.
Just going back to Shawnee, after the fight, I looked on Twitter and everyone was like, well, that's what happens when you have a padded record. You fight 28 tomato cans and stuff like that. And I felt a bit bad because from Kev, I do know a bit more of Shawnee's personal kind of struggle with the game. And it's difficult because when he was with Arum, there were instances where he was getting paid decent money to fight lower level opposition. So if you're a boxer and you're getting good money just to fight a bum, you're going to take it. But that has consequences as well because you don't develop, you don't progress. And I think that's what happened with Sean. He kind of just stayed at that same level. He kept getting paid decent paydays. Then he was on the shelf for a bit. Then he left Top Rank, went with PBC, and it's difficult because maybe he could have had a title shot in his 22nd fight and maybe got exposed then, but no one gave him a title shot. He was supposed to have this fight with Adonis, and Adonis pulled out and then decided to fight Fonfara again. So it's a difficult balance. You want the title shots to kind of prove yourself, but if you're not giving it and you're getting decent paydays, you're just going to continue fighting bums, but you do eventually get exposed. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I think, that Adonis could have got ugly, couldn't it, if he'd fought him? I think he could have...
Really...
frankly, it probably would have ended about the same way. To be
yeah, but he might have been more sparked out, because, no one's
denying
what Adonis...
I think Brown is a legit bomber. I think he's every bit the puncher on the level of Adonis. He doesn't necessarily have the skills or the ability of Stevenson, I don't think.
That's a big call. I think Adonis is one of those. He's a proper touch of death guy, isn't he?
No, he definitely is. He definitely is. But I've seen fights from Brown in the amateurs where he was knocking guys out with the headgear and putting them to sleep. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not taking away. I recognise the brand components, but
Yeah.
I rate Adonis high when it comes to that single shot.
We're gonna get to Joe Smith Jr. in a minute, but should Shawnee just retire, or because I asked this question to Kevin, he was like, well, he doesn't think there's any money in the fight. Him, Shawnee versus Joe Smith, both from Long Island dudes, both well known in that area. So I still think if a promoter wanted to put the fight on, I still think it'd do financially decent. So
did he say he doesn't think there's money in that fight?
No.
Doesn't think that's anymore. Well, that's still a shame because just because they might have both lost, I still think there's Eddie Hearn would love that shit, wouldn't he?
Oh,
that'd be pay per view over here, sell that shit up, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I mean, not to compare the two of them to Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, but even as the two of them racked up losses, loss after loss after loss, that they were still able to sell out in Atlantic City and stuff, with their kind of local fan bases. It'd be almost akin to that, albeit on definitely a lower level, but still, I mean, you'd imagine that it would still be there. But I know, I mean, from what I've heard from Cage and everything, that it seemed like Monahan was largely doing this almost to kind of see just how far he could go. And now that he's hit his ceiling, so to speak, who knows if he'll really want to continue to press the issue, or if he'll hang him up, or I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll feel like he froze in the headlights, so to speak, and he can maybe rebound off of it. But I guess time will tell.
Yeah, he is 36 next month, as Beast Mode told us in the chat, and he did start late. And if I was him, I'd probably say, what, for a guy that started late, I was just doing like illegal fights in the street and having fights in bars and shit. I got pretty far. Whether he wants to continue or not, I won't mind if you just wanted to, fight out there. It's just promoters maybe now kind of backing him, because do you really want to be putting money into a guy that's probably past his prime and got exposed in his kind of first step up fight? That's going to be the difficult part. Oh, and when you do get decent paydays, and then and those numbers are a lot different that you're getting offered for your next dude, you might think, well, what's the risk reward ratio?
Yeah, they're probably going to be much tougher fights because you're going to be used as the food for much lower paydays. So more difficult and less pay.
You'd think that the only fight to be made is that local one, and beyond that is maybe a bit futile,
Yeah. All right, are we done on this card? You guys got anything else?
No. I didn't see any of the other stuff. I know it switched over channels, didn't it? And Donut got a little run out.
I didn't see Donut done, to be honest.
How did Donut do now? You must have seen that, no?
I saw the highlights of it. He lost to Jamal James. Jamal James, a guy that he was on a fairly good run, and then he ran into Dennis Ugas, Cuban fighter. But he went in there, he was able to kind of just outbox Jojo Dam, kind of range him out. He's a really tall guy. He's 6'2", and he's a welterweight. Oh shit! Yeah, he's built ridiculously, like he's super long arms and long legs, just really long limbed son of a bitch. Like a mini Wilder, I guess you might say. Although I don't know, it looks even more out of whack. Like his limbs to torso ratio, it looks even crazier. And then Omar's brother got a decision too. Omar's brother Brandon, which is good. He needs that experience because he's been blowing out a lot of guys early too. And he actually looks like he's more competent technically than Omar does.
I didn't know there was a brother. What's his deal? What weight is he at and stuff?
He's a featherweight, 126, and he's 20 years old, so he's really young.
Oh, right,
he's
yeah.
13-0 with 8 knockouts, so they're kind of slowly building him up. But funny enough, it's like his brother kind of he turned pro and started rising up the ranks while Omar was sitting on the shelf the entire time. So I don't know, I guess maybe he might have been able to benefit from Omar not being around as much and everything, and potentially kind of still in the spotlight.
They're a tag team. One does the work, the other one just gets chills on the sidelines.
Yeah,
he wasn't sitting on the shelf. He was actively wanting to be a couch potato with his actual words, weren't they?
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, man.
I wanted to be a couch potato.
It's really impressive, though. I mean, for the fact that he was off for a year and a half, he basically had that one warm-up round in the first, and then he got to work immediately, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because they were talking about, they were saying he was a bit flabby, wasn't they, and stuff. And Danny was like, that doesn't matter. Again, I thought he was really good. It doesn't matter. He goes, you can't expect him to have a six-pack. He's been off the shelf. It doesn't matter if he's got a six-pack.
Yeah, and I mean, it primarily matters, you know, if it's a long fight and you're not up to condition. But, you know, there's plenty of fat guys that you know, can run all day. And
boxing will always prove the body beautiful can fall apart, and the guy looks a bit out of shape. He'll go all 12 rounds.
Yeah,
on a regular basis, we see that, don't we?
Very true.
Holding up energy like a camel.
Yeah, look at me trying to big it up because I would definitely be in that camp.
All right, let's go over to the forum. Neota Leon will have a break because he's not managed to catch these. He was busy this weekend. But should we start off with Joe Smith Jr. versus Sullivan Barrera?
Yeah, sure. Start. I guess go from the bottom to the top.
Now we're here.
Huh?
You didn't get my Drake reference from the bottom to the top. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, no, I missed you. You actually even saying that. Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
But,
what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, but you know, Smith dropped Barrera in that first round with that left hook, and I was like, oh shit, this is about to get interesting. Like I was thinking that like what I was talking about might have wind up coming true, but Barrera managed to kind of get himself together, get his head together and everything, and come out boxing the second round like the first round never happened, and just outboxed Smith. You know, he was able to just kind of control him with the boxing fundamentals, the basics. You know, just managing the distance and straight shots, leading with the jab and everything. And there were a lot of occasions where Barrera would hurt Smith, and then he would kind of try and go in to try and capitalize on it, and Smith would clip him with another one of those left hooks and hurt him. You know, but it was really Smith needing Barrera to be able to sell out in order for him to counter what Barrera was doing, because leading, Smith really didn't have very much way of kind of setting up his shots as the leading fighter. And the right hand was pretty much completely taken away from him by Barrera. I mean, I'd say he landed only like one truly clean right hand on Barrera, and even then it wasn't really properly leveraged. It was more like an arm shot that he just kind of threw out there. Otherwise, I mean, Barrera just basically summarily outboxed him in virtually every facet of the game, landed a number of really nice uppercuts, you know, just kind of most of the punches in the repertoire, and, you know, just fairly handily outpointed Smith. I mean, Smith, like I said, he had some certain moments, but they were just few and far between, and Barrera just outboxed him through the 10 and got it done. And, you know, moves on to possibly bigger and better things. And really, I think, you know, in spite of the fact that HBO took the occasion to, you know, go crazy and jock Ward all night, even though they had a really good performance going on in front of him with Barrera. I actually think Barrera has kind of improved since that Ward fight. He learned from that fight, and he's improved since it. Because, like, going into that fight, I mean, he was taking a big step up from fighting basically journeymen to fighting a top-level world champion and a world champion level fighter. And since then, you know, he fought Shabransky, and then he had this fight. And I think that he puts everything together a little bit better. He's a little bit more comfortable in leading, and more comfortable in setting up his own offense, and also being able to adjust, you know, in the midst of adversity, as he did in his last fight and this one. And, you know, he's grown into a pretty solid fighter, and I could very well see him getting another title shot in the near future. You know, maybe one more good opponent. If he gets a win over somebody like that, then you know, he might be able to get a rematch at Ward, or fight with Adonis Stevenson himself. You know, somebody like a Leo Alvarez or Alexander Vosdik or somebody like that. But not entirely sure. But what do you think, Ken?
I was disappointed with Smith. I thought, and a lot of credit due to Barrera. I think he made Smith look basic, man. And I say it quite often where a guy gets an early knockdown, and I think that mentally affects him. I think he thought, well, I'll catch him again, and I'll catch him again. And he was so wild, man. Like, Barrera's gauge of distance was excellent, man. He'd come on in, do his work, step out, and you just see Smith just wildly missing a big left hook or a big right hand, and yeah, Barrera was good. Straight punch was really good. As you said, the uppercuts were excellent on the inside, and apart from the odd occasion, obviously the first round and a few more where he kind of got clipped with a wild shot, I thought it was easy work for Sullivan, and his progression has been really good. As you say, over the last couple of fights, you're really seeing him improving different aspects. He's throwing more combinations. He's throwing more variety within the combinations, and yeah, man.
He's truly become a professional. He's transitioned that amateur style into the pro game.
Well,
I think is
when I looked at this fight, it looked like a blue collar guy fighting an amateur. That's what it looked like. Smith just was basic, man. There was no jab. He was kind of just like and then try and set up the right hand, and his corner was terrible. I don't know if it's his father that trains him, but he was like, yeah. And towards the end of it, he was like, yeah, you just need to knock him out, man. You need. It's like, well, give him some advice of what to do, man. Like, feint the jab, step in, do something.
Speaking to him like a motivational speaker rather than like a boxing trainer.
Exactly.
Like tactical advice.
Exactly. But I'm a fan of Smith, but he just fought a guy that's got too much class for him, and he just got exposed, and it's a shame, but I still think there's a lot of good fights out for him, man, especially at light heavy. As you said, you named some names before, but you still got our boy Bivol. You got Sean if he wants that fight. I think that's still a good fight for the East Coast. Beterbiev is a great fight. Everyone's avoiding him. He's the boogeyman. But yeah, Gvozdyk, as you said, just so many good fights at light heavy, and yeah, I think he should try and just go down a different route. Maybe regroup and just come back stronger.
You know who Joe Smith should fight? He needs to try and get a fight with Mike Lee, Mr. Subway. Get a fight with Mike Lee and knock him the fuck out. Because Mike Lee needs a loss. Like, I'm just saying, I don't like Mike Lee. I want to see Mike Lee get laid out. So Joe Smith, go get a fight with that dude and put him to sleep, please.
Why you got this
beef? You don't. There's a fighter you don't like? Wow.
Why you got this big beef with Mike Lee, man?
Just everything about the guy really rubs me the wrong way. Just the fact that he had Top Rank promoting his very first fight, his pro debut. The fact that he was on a Subway commercial with like Michael Strahan and Michael Phelps, even though he had like no boxing history to speak of, to be on the level of like MVP level athletes in other sports. That I want to see that guy get punished.
It's because he's a beautiful, blessed white male. That's why.
Lim, you were in the building, but I know you shit on the card because we spoke over the weekend, so I don't know if you got much to add.
Nah, what are you talking about, man? I thought it was a great card, one of the best fights I've ever been to, and my seat's pretty amazing. So, I just feel really blessed to be at the venue, to see my homeboy Ski Mask at the venue in person and his beautiful father. What can I say, man? It was just that card from top to bottom to top, however you want to say it. I thoroughly enjoyed all three fights, and I thought they were all just world-class performances, all six gentlemen.
Lim, was Rob Palmer hanging around Ski Mask's dad again?
No, I didn't see that guy. I think I don't think there were probably like two white people that I saw at the entire venue. I kid you not. It was mostly the Japanese and Mexican people. So I didn't see Rob Palmer anywhere and his sandals. So nope, I didn't catch him. But in all honesty, the card was like you said, Cam, like on paper, it was a good card. The performances certainly didn't live up to it. I mean, the Berchelt Miura fight was okay, but other than that, the card was, I think, a flop, to tell you the truth.
I must agree. But, Naoto, you got anything left with the Smith-Barrera fight?
No.
Let's move on to the co-main then. Trying to think, Corrales versus Castellanos.
Yeah.
I watched this at like 4 a.m. on a Sunday.
Castellanos. You don't pronounce L.
How do you pronounce that again, Lim?
Castellanos.
Castellanos.
Not Castellanos.
You pronounce it like it's a Y, like it's a Y sound.
No problem, Lim. I'll shit on you next time you pronounce a name wrong. Don't worry about it.
I never pronounce names incorrectly, Cam.
I hold grudges. But it's like 4 a.m. over here, early hours of Sunday morning. I just thought it was a bit of a messy fight.
Yeah, I guess like that's where we disagree because I thought it was really entertaining. It was very competitive, and I thought they were both technically sound, doing very high level stuff for what they bring to the table in terms of their particular styles. I mean, Robinson Castellanos, I've made comparisons between him and like an Orlando Salido, for instance, and he fights in a not too dissimilar fashion, albeit he tends to prefer range, whereas Salido I think tends to prefer to be on the inside a lot more so. Now, that probably owes to, the way that their bodies are built and everything, too. He's more of like a rangy, kind of long-limbed guy, as opposed to Salido, who's more stocky. But, he was doing really good with the feints. He was kind of feinting Corrales to get where he wanted him to be and, hit him with the shots where he was predicting that he was going to be at. Whereas Corrales was... he was trying to do his kind of finesse type thing, like an Anselmo Moreno, like a Pernell Whitaker, and just be tricky and be able to kind of be like slippery, but at the same time just kind of catch you with those shots that you didn't see. The thing though was he wasn't managing the distance quite as well as Castellanos was, and Castellanos was just kind of feigning him into the right position. That was given Corrales some trouble after the first couple of rounds. It seemed like Corrales definitely was beating him to the punch the first couple of rounds, leading his shots a bit better than Castellanos was. But Castellanos was able to kind of get into a good groove and a rhythm in the middle rounds. He managed to get the couple of knockdowns in the fourth. And, it wasn't until it seemed like he started to slow up a little bit, possibly, the pace of the fight and everything was getting to him just a tad, where Corrales was able to kind of drop him. And, I'd imagine maybe some of the head clashes had something to do with it, too. Although it didn't seem like anything but the final head clash, which ended the fight, really dissuaded either one of them from utilizing whatever tactics they were looking to utilize throughout the fight. But, otherwise, it was a really solid fight, I thought. Very good back-and-forth stuff between the two. And, it was very interesting. You really didn't know who was going to be winning going into those last rounds. And it's kind of unfortunate that it did get stopped in the 10th because I think those last 3 rounds really played a key role in exactly who was going to take the crown in that fight. Whether, Corrales was going to defend his title successfully as the judges had it, or if Castellanos was going to be able to basically come back and get the points back. I actually had Castellanos up by a point when the fight was stopped, but I wouldn't argue with people that have Corrales ahead slightly as well. It was pretty much even all the way up until the final round, the 10th basically, where you'd imagine that the judges had to score that 10-10 because nothing really happened up until the point where the head clash. But I thought it was a good performance from both guys. Castellanos, as always, is a spoiler type fighter, a guy that you really can't take lightly because he may take you out if you do that. And Corrales, he proved that just beating Uchiyama those couple of times wasn't a fluke. He definitely had some difficulty with Castellanos, as he will have difficulty, I think, with guys that kind of keep their hands moving and utilize feints the way that he does. But against most more kind of orthodox style of fighters, I think Corrales will be able to flummox him in a major way with his foot movement, with his torso movement, with his unorthodoxness, the improvisational style that he has, and continue to pull through. The unfortunate thing about it is I imagine Castellanos, just the risk versus reward ratio for him is awful because he has all those losses and everything. It's going to be really difficult for him to get a really good fight unless he puts himself in a mandatory position where you have to fight him when you drop your belt. Whereas with Corrales, he obviously still has his you'd imagine there's the possibility of him versus Berchelt in the near future. We'll get to that fight in a second because they both have their zeros and everything. Then they're the top 2 fighters at super featherweight. They're the 2 best fighters at super featherweight, bar none, bar nobody. The 2 best fighters are Corrales and Berchelt. So that's an obvious fight to be made and a fight that I look forward to should it be made.
Did your increase of energy level point any fingers towards Lomachenko?
It pointed the fingers towards everybody.
Everybody.
Including a guy whose name sounds like Vaseline, as in no Vaseline, and another guy whose name is something like I missed out on it, but Gervonta Davis is the other guy. but yeah, Berchelt and Corrales are the two top fighters at super featherweight.
We
Period, point blank.
We both spoke to Welsh Joe earlier, and he mentioned something about times he gets excited when you speak. I think when he listens to the show, that will be one of the times.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I've not really got anything to add about that fight. As I said, I was maybe it was just the fact that it was 4 a.m. I was knackered, but yeah, I didn't really enjoy it that much.
But the thing, it was really more of like a kind of a chess match between the two of them, as opposed to like an all-out war.
Personally, I just think against I guess the wrong opposition, because against the right opposition he'll look good, but against the wrong opposition, I think Corrales just looks awkward when he's shifting, stances as he's coming forward with his punches. He moves at the waist quite a bit, and he looks off balance, and it's just, to me, it's a bit messy to watch sometimes. But moving on to
I can see that.
Moving on to the main, Naoto. Another fight I was disappointed in. Like, last week, both you and me thinking, Miura's in for it, man. Like, if he stands there and trades, he's gonna get took out. But what was the thinking behind Berchelt's tactics? Do you think they were just overly cautious of Miura's power and thought, okay, we don't want to be silly here, let's just box him on the back foot? Or were they just trying, a different tactic just to see if he's got, all the strings on his bow?
No, honestly, I think it really was more the former rather than the latter. Berchelt is really a good boxer. I mean, he had an extensive amateur pedigree of his own, which you don't necessarily see very much from fighters from Mexico, especially. But I mean, he was. I mean, they mentioned it a few different times when he fought Vargas that they were both like in the national squad and everything. And like Vargas obviously was like the elder statesman in comparison. He was like the older brother, so to speak. And Berchelt, he took it upon himself to dispatch of big bros in their fight. But I think he always had the skills there, and he chose to use them in the proper manner here against Miura. Because Miura really, his whole game plan is hit you with that big left hand. And so he pretty much looked to take that left hand away from him all night, and he was fairly successful in doing so. There was only a few times where Miura was able to land that big left cross, and it was primarily to the body, not so much to the head. He at the very least took it away upstairs and just kind of summarily outboxed him for the most part. Landed some good body shots of his own. And, I mean, he even appeared to kind of rattle Miura momentarily, sometimes on his own, with some of those headshots, the left hooks and such. But Miura showed just a hell of a chin. I mean, I think part of it, too, was the fact that Berchelt wasn't coming forward while he was throwing those shots, so he didn't have as much power and leverage on him. So Miura was able to eat him a bit better in comparison to, say, like when he fought Vargas, where it was just the two of them coming like almost head first at each other, trying to throw as heavy as possible. But even still, I mean, for Miura to show that level of punch resistance is crazy. I mean, that was akin to like Mariaga against Oscar Valdez a couple months back. Just taking these huge bombs from a known knockout artist and just kept coming forward. Like the Terminator. He was just loading up on that left hand, and you could tell that every seat in that arena could see that where that left hand was coming from every time they would ooh and ah when he would throw it, and usually miss pretty wildly, but he definitely believed in it for the most part. And it wasn't until probably the last 2 or 3 rounds where Miura seemed like kind of tired out, and he didn't really have as much left to be able to properly throw those punches and everything. I mean, the right hand was okay on occasion as well, but he's always been a lot more left hand heavy. The right hand is almost like Adonis Stevenson, where it's like if he hits you with it, I mean, yeah, he can hurt you with it, but it's really more of a setup punch for the left, whether it's going to be to the head or to the body. And Berchelt, showed good punch variety. He had some nice uppercuts of his own, good hooks, hooking around Miura's guard to the body, and just overall, just good punches from Berchelt. I mean, his balance is a little bit awkward from the outside as he's kind of trying to be a power puncher while he's on the move. But I mean, still at the same time, there's not too many guys you could see that really carry that level of power while they're moving around. So, I mean, fair play to him.
I don't know how you've given Miura so much props, man. I thought he was awful, Naota. I thought, like you said, just left hand happy, loading up.
Well, I was giving him props more for his ability to kind of take a beating than him being, like an amazing, like, technical boxer.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a chin, but I found it after a bit, it was a bit boring, man. Like, you just saw he had one tactic and it was failing most of the time. And Berchelt, you might disagree, but when he comes forward, he just looks so much comfortable. On the back foot, he has this unease to him. There's something where he doesn't look like he likes to be on the back foot. He can do it, but he doesn't look comfortable.
No, I'd agree. But I think also part of that might have been a little bit of like, just being like overly wary of what Miura had on his shots. Because, he did land a couple of them in there, and I think that he definitely felt it. So I think that probably added to his uneasiness. I think against lower level opposition, when he's done that in the past, I mean, he looked a lot more comfortable doing it. It's like he'd plant his feet a little bit more. He looked a little bit more smooth in the midst of it. But I think Miura just kind of put him on notice to a certain degree.
And that's all for the forum card, unless you got anything to add, Nikki.
No, I mean, not much else to add other than the commentary was fucking atrocious. That was ridiculously stupid. Max Kellerman, Roy Jones Jr., and Jim Lampley all making complete fucking idiots out of themselves once again. Talking about bullshit, talking about fighters that aren't even fucking fighting on the card, calling a fighter the fucking kingpin of the division when the last time he fought a guy on the level of either Miura or Francisco Vargas, he lost. But, aside from that and their ridiculous bullshit-ass pound-for-pound list that they were trying to throw out there, I mean, it was a good card. It's just kind of unfortunate that they sullied it with their ridiculous stupidity and fake news, frankly, is really what it was.
Yeah, Box Nation were weird as well, because normally like they'll sit in the studio and they'll just do a piece to camera and then go to the fights, but this time they just had Bunty and Barry Jones kind of just give like a bit of just vocals in between fights, and then the commentary was the Golden Boys, I think, international stream, so it was I think it's Norberto Duran or something, and Steve Kim were on commentary for that card over here in the UK. But yeah, it was weird. Box Nation never used to do that. If they're actually gonna commentate and talk about the fights, they normally do a piece to camera, so it was weird that they were just doing voiceovers. It was a bit strange.
Yeah, that is pretty odd.
And it was a shame with the PBC, no one picked it up in the UK. Obviously, Box Nation decided to pick up the Miura card and the Berchelt card. And Sky, if they've not got like a horse in the race, they don't show anything international usually. Obviously, to pick up everything Hearn does, but unless it's a massive fight and they know that there's going to be interest, they don't really pick up smaller cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd imagine the PBC card is largely because really like there wasn't any like world level significance to those fights, really, not yet anyway.
I just think
possibly for the future, but there was no world titles on the line or nothing like that.
That makes sense.
There was no top 3 or top 5 fighters in their division in any of those fights.
No, that makes sense, but with the amount of channels we have these days, I can't see Golden Boy asking a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
To just to put that card on, like it's not outside of Sky's budget just to provide something they should be providing, because usually there's not much of an excuse for it. It really isn't. Or I mean, like the idea that I've said in the past too. I mean, fuck it, just put it on YouTube, live stream it on YouTube on the official page or whatever for the international audience. Close it out to the U.S. audience, where they IP ban you or whatever.
Yeah, geo lock it.
And then put ads on it. And there you go. You just exposed a whole wide world of people to fighters that they might not have otherwise been able to see.
I never understand that though. Do you understand that sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't? It's like, what's the benefits? Just just do either or. Like, to be honest, your idea is, I think, financially more viable because a lot more people are going to tune in, and you're getting the advertising revenue.
Yep.
And they've got the platform there. They've got the platform there, haven't they? Because they just stick it on Ring TV. Yeah,
you Ring TV or just YouTube and like put the adverts in it, and
So it wouldn't have taken them any work. They wouldn't have to come and set up
either way,
something
up. I remember when Sean Porter had that like live sparring session, and he had it on freaking Facebook Live. There was a ton of people watching that shit. I remember seeing the number. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of people watching this. So it's really not. And he had just a dude with a camera, like somebody with a GoPro live stream or something like that. So it was very very simple on his part. So I don't see why these big networks with their crazy budgets or these big promoters with their own budgets couldn't do it. If Sean Porter could get somebody with a camera and just have the shit broadcasted on Facebook.
You could just pay Ski Mask to do it.
Yeah, seriously.
He's at all the West Coast fights.
Yeah, but he'd just take the money and not film it and fuck off, wouldn't he?
Get drunk with his handsome dad.
He's not called Ski Mask for no reason, the Robin bastard.
He'll call up Rob Palmer and be like, "Hey, they just gave me some money. You fucking suck." Let's hit the bar.
Cam, just quickly on that Sky thing. The reason they didn't buy it is because there's no one on the Matchroom roster who could have a possible chance of fighting them, really. I mean, the Ward Kovalev thing is a different thing because that was a massive fight, but they usually pick up
I said
fights.
That. Usually they don't pick up if they're not like a horse in the race or it's not a massive...
Yeah, exactly. If it's not like... They picked up Porter and Furman because they thought
it's a big
Brooke
fight.
might end up with them.
True. I just thinking, when... Over here in the UK, you know that this period in the summer there's not much domestic boxing back until September. So I'm thinking, well, that PBC card's going to be cheap. Just pick it up, play it. You just have someone in the studio doing a voiceover, and then the boxing community are happy because people that do maybe pay for Sky subscriptions, Sky Sports subscription for the boxing, well, they might have fucking cancelled for a month because you're not getting shit on Sky. Unless you want to pay some silly money for Mayweather McGregor.
But Sky, I don't know if their heart's in it,
I think they're happy with what they got with Eddie, but I think their minds on other stuff, man. But
Eddie's about those papers. It's about they want more. It's on some levels. Sky is forcing. I mean, Eddie Hearn's, cap in hand, he's fully on board with shit. But Sky are the ones really pushing that those pay-per-views, 100%.
Do you think it's Sky pushing her?
100%.
My biggest issue is what's happened with the domestic scene, though. Like Eddie's cards, just his usual Sky Sports cards, week in, week out. I mentioned it, they're awful, man. Awful.
Horse and pony shows for Olympians, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. But let's move on. Let's talk about Eubank. Leon.
Eubank. Yeah, I mean, I watched this on a very shoddy stream, and and ITV have locked it down hard, Cam. Like, trying to find uploads of his cards,
Yeah, you can get...
They have shut it down, man.
You can get the main event quite easily, but undercard-wise...
Oh, can you?
Oh, yeah, you should... yeah, didn't you know?
I couldn't find it, but maybe I wasn't looking properly.
All right.
But I found Lee Selby, but I wanted to see, the Roy Davis fight and the other things, but they all... No one's put them up.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought you had a link to the Eubank card, so I didn't link it.
I watched it live. You've seen one round, you kind of seen them all, no? I don't know what we learned, really.
That's true.
He was tailor-made for him.
He was, but I was also... I was a bit impressed, Leon, man. Like, the fact that I've never seen, anyone really do that to Abe, man.
He shut down his output completely, didn't he?
Yeah, I know Abe shot and he's old and that, but, that Gabilto fight was horrible, man. He just kind of tapped him around for 12 rounds where Abe looked like he was a bit up for it. Like, he was trying to throw back at times. He was trying to clip him with, left hooks and shit. Like, he did it in that 11th round, and then Eubank came back and threw, 15-punch combination and shit. And I found it exciting at times. Obviously, it didn't have that drama because I didn't think Abe's going to be able to catch him, and he didn't. But I was still fun to watch what Eubank was doing, I thought.
I mean, he looks good, but I mean, you got to worry about you worry a bit about his power. But to be fair, the argument is a guy who's felt like he was pretty much there to survive. It's difficult to catch that guy clean, and it'd be interesting if you fight someone who brings it to him, whether or not his punches might have a little bit more on them. But he was still pretty wild at times, Cam.
No, he was. And one question I got for you, and maybe it's just me, but is his uppercut slightly shorter now? And you used to really pull it from another universe and pull it back up, but it just seems a bit shorter these days.
I tell you what, it definitely was. It was a lot better on the inside.
Yeah.
When he was close up, he was landing that one pretty good. And look, we know about Abe. He's fucking granite. Like, no one's worried about Abe pulling a Brook, are they? No boxing fan has any qualms about saying that he's a real guy. He's not going to say he'll take his shit, won't he?
He's not going to say he couldn't breathe through his nose.
No, exactly. He couldn't talk through his fucking mouth against Edison Miranda, could he? He couldn't fucking open. The thing was, that was hideous. But he battled on, didn't he?
Amazing.
So, he's got to say it's a good win for Eubank, but it was tailor-made for him. A guy with that low output, who's happy to stand in that guard, it's perfect for Eubank.
Yeah. We know Abe's a small super middle, and he kind of struggled with the weight as well from what the commentators were saying, but Junior looked massive compared to him, man.
He did look big. But, look, let's just hope they don't fuck up this tournament and they don't muck around. I've heard ITV are going hard for that tournament from people I know at ITV.
So do you think they're going to pick up every card?
I understand. From what you understand it's one fight. The initial deal was if you want one fight, you got to take them all. I don't know if that's on both tournaments or if you can split the tournaments up, but I know that ITV are very interested in that thing from someone who works there as well, So
I don't know how the Smith fight would happen though, because he's with Sky.
Yeah, but I think Callum Smith hates Eddie Hearn. People have been saying this for a long time, so maybe Eddie just can't stand in his way. The advantage of it is it's
3
Sauerland.
Brits. Yeah, the advantage I think is that it's 3 Brits in the super middleweight tournament, and 2 of them are very well known, and that's really going to help them if they do decide
4
to.
Brits.
Oh, so yeah, Jamie Cox as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So domestically, showing that will get a lot of people's interest, but is it most likely going to be on pay-per-view? It seems so, won't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
If you're putting Eubank on pay-per-view,
my mate's boss is talking about it. That's all he told me.
Okay, no problem. Neota, what did you think of Eubank's performance?
Well, I think it was really appropriate. I saw somebody on Twitter post a photo of Eubank wilding out on a one of those punching dummies or whatever that people normally use in self-defense class. That's pretty much what the fight was. He just went right at Abraham, just flooded him with punches, and Abraham pretty much didn't do shit. That's pretty much all you can really say about the fight. I didn't have the greatest dream in the world, and I was kind of falling in and out of consciousness watching the fight because I woke up at a stupid ass hour. He did pretty well. He looked fairly impressive, and I'm really interested to see how he does in the World Boxing Super Series. I think he might be able to look pretty good in there. I think at the very least he's poised to perform. Will he be able to go over the top and actually win it? Not entirely sure.
Leon, did you hear any of Grove's comments at ringside?
No, I didn't. What was he saying?
He was salty, man. He was like, well, I was at times I was not impressed. He kept doing the same thing. He didn't look for openings or he didn't change anything. Well, Abe was doing the same thing and he just kept doing the same thing. And he's talking about his opponent in the Super 6. Well, I think he might struggle with him as well, to be honest. I'm like, he's just super salty, man. It was crazy. It's kind of funny to watch.
But this is the guy who said after getting clean iced off Roch that he reckoned he'd beat him if he fought him again. So, I mean,
yeah,
he's
true.
a way for fairies, isn't he?
That is true.
But what was it like? Was it good? Was it good? Like a good show? I saw that Linares was in the house.
Yeah, he was in the house, but I missed half of it.
Making everything 100% sexier than it was already.
200%. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed half of it. I had a nap after work, and I woke up just as the Robbie Davis Jr. fight was finishing, as he got stopped. So I can't really.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Davis was actually doing pretty good over what was that, Cyril Vodka or something like that. That his opponent was named. I thought Davies was ahead. You know, Cyril Vodka really needed a knockout to win, and he did it, man. He took his ass out.
It's interesting because I was kind of following that fight through Twitter and through WhatsApp and all that kind of stuff.
Davies was sloppier than shit, man. Like he would have Cyril Vodka hurt, and then like all of a sudden he would get clipped himself because he has like no defense in the midst of trying to set up his own attack.
Yeah, people were definitely saying that he looked like he was fading towards the end. Like before, you know, a couple of good rounds before he got knocked out. People saying, he's unraveling a bit here.
Yeah,
but,
he was slowing down. I mean, and the thing is, Cyril Vodka always kind of had his moments, but it seemed like they weren't really enough to win rounds. So I mean, he was well down. But yeah, he pulled it off, and Davies just had a fucking meltdown. That's all it was. All it was to it.
Jeez, ITV love getting scouts as ice, don't they, Cam?
They do indeed.
How did Selby look? Because I missed that. I just saw his face.
He
looked touched up.
He looked good. It's typical Selby, you know, safety first, and really tough circumstances as well because his mother had passed a few days before, man. So, you know, big condolences to the Selby family. But I think he needed to fight. People asked him about, you know, did you consider pulling out? As much as, you know, losing your mother is such a big, you know, such a big issue in your life that. He needed to fight. His career's kind of stalled, man. The first Barros fight, you know, Barros pulled out through hepatitis or whatever, and he's had these little interim fights, and then Barros was still, you know, mandatory by the IBF and shit. So he needed to get this fight out of the way if he needs to move on to bigger things. Because
finally,
he needs to fight a big name now. He's just stalled, and he's just sitting there, and he's done nothing for a couple of years.
Yeah, and you know they were talking about him in Frampton, and you know I've like before anybody was even talking about that fight, I was saying that that'd be a good fight to be made. It only made sense to me, and I think it's a good fight. You know, I think it's competitive.
He's running out of time.
Selby matches up well against him too.
As much as I like,
he's running out of time, Cam. He looked gaunt in that way. Like the pictures I saw of him on Twitter and stuff, you know, the day before, he looked gaunt. You know, like in a bit of trouble at that weight.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
I agree, but as much as I love Frampton, I just think stylistically, man, like Selby beats Frampton quite easily. Like on the back foot, Frampton's effective; he can counter you. But look how much he struggled against Leo in the second fight on the front foot. And like Selby's gonna make him come on the front foot. He's just gonna go backwards. He'll make Frampton come towards him, and I think it's a bad look for Frampton, that fight.
I mean, to be fair, though, I mean, Selby had a lot of struggles with Montiel, and if Frampton is able to institute kind of some of the same angles and kind of almost feint him into position, almost the way I was talking about earlier with Castellanos and Corrales, he may be able to just kind of catch him with that first shot from the outside coming in, and then, you know, clench him or whatever he's going to do on the inside, and just be able to reset and cause Selby a lot of issues by doing that. You know, and also, you know, if Selby is struggling with the weight, Frampton may be able to kind of catch him at the right time too. You know, I think it's an interesting fight. I think it's fairly close to 50-50. I would slightly favor Selby, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee.
I'd love to see Selby versus Leo. I think that'd be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I'd lean towards Leo, but I mean it's a good fight.
Why do you think it'd be ugly, Nikki?
Because because what was that guy's name? Remember Leo Santa Cruz fighting a guy years ago, a guy from Puerto Rico, and he kind of did like a really bad impression of like what Selby does, and it was really a terrible fight, and Santa Cruz won it fairly handily, and there was a bunch of people saying like, oh, like Santa Cruz got schooled or something. Like, he didn't get fucking schooled. Cesar said that. That's what the guy's name was. But he just made it like really awkward. It was like a poor man's version of like Lara versus Canelo, except for Cesar not even being anywhere near as effective as Lara was. And I don't think that stylistically it'd be an eye-pleasing fight. It'd probably be competitive, but I don't know. I just don't think it would be really all that fun to watch. The way that they match up with each other.
Okay. This card, I know you talked about the Davis fight, and Leon, you and me are not seeing it. Can't find a link anywhere. It's gone crazy, man. Boxing's getting harder, man. We have to go back to the streets, Leon, and wearing trench coats, doing secret handshakes.
Yeah. Too much hard work, man.
Seriously. I did catch, obviously, the we just talking about Selby fight. Yeah, typical Selby, man. Back foot, you know, on his jab combinations. Yeah, but it was a bit basic, man. You're just looking forward, just coming forward. No really ideas, just doing the same thing over and over again. But I thought it was a comfortable win for Selby. I did watch the Ward versus Cacase fight. I find it a bit boring, man. I was surprised it's so high in the schedule, but I think because there was titles that people know, the British title and the Commonwealth title were up for stake, and maybe that's why it was so high in the schedule. But it's kind of average fight. Both guys were just kind of gesturing and feinting a bit too much, man, and it was a bit of a jab fest, and maximum like a 1-2 and then fall into each other and kind of grab and hold, and you know, ref will step in, break him, and it was just a very stop-start fight, I thought, and it wasn't my kind of thing. But I also missed the Galahad fight against Jose Cantano. I'll try and find that this week and maybe watch it.
I saw it from the 6th round on, and it was basically just kind of seemed like, you know, Galahad just kind of slowly breaking Cayetano down. Cayetano not particularly looking in any real great trouble for the most part. It seemed like finally once Galahad actually managed to kind of crack him a little bit, hurt him a little bit, and that's at the ref was kind of quick to pull the trigger on the stoppage. So was it like he just laid Cayetano out or anything like that?
Was it a legit stoppage or a bit of a British stoppage?
It was a bit early. Like you know, Cayetano, I've seen him hurt worse or take bigger punches than that and come back just fine. But I mean, the thing is, he was losing pretty much every round, so I'd imagine there was kind of no point to it. But Galahad looked good. I mean, from what I saw, he was managing the distance well, throwing pretty well in combination, and you know, had a fair bit of pop. So let's see what the future has in store for him.
That's about it, I think, for the weekend's fights. You might want to mention Freshmart, Neota, but I've got nothing else unless you got anything to add, Leon. Leon, you're on mute.
No, nothing to add.
You want to mention that fight, Nicky?
Yeah, knockout CB Freshmart versus Ray Loreto. I know me and you kind of disagreed about how good the fight was. I thought it was pretty entertaining. You know, I thought Loreto was giving Freshmart a lot of problems in the early rounds. You know, I thought he was extremely alive, especially for a guy that has that many losses. You know, he's another one of those guys like a Castellanos who, you know, had a lot of really bad early fights. You know, got kind of thrown in there against the Lions and got slayed a bunch of times, and he managed to learn from it and grow to become a better fighter from it. And, you know, he scored a few upsets the last few years, especially 2 big knockouts over one of the former 105-pound champs. And, you know, he finally got a shot against Freshmart. And really, I think kind of what let him down was his stamina in the later rounds of the fight, as well as the knockdown that Freshmart managed to land on him, which wasn't really a knockdown, as we kind of talked about before. Because, you know, it's like Freshmart kind of tripped him, pushed him, and then he landed the punch like right after tripping and pushing him. And you know, and Freshmart is kind of dirty too. Like when he's in a fight against a tough opponent, he'll get a little gritty in there. Like he'll start pulling out on his head and hitting him while he's doing that, and hitting him behind the head and hitting him like in the kidneys and stuff like that. And he did a little bit of that to Loreto, and I think that phased Loreto a little bit, whereas Loreto tended to be a bit more fighting, under the rule set, and CP was fighting, with the dark arts, so to speak, like Leon has said a few times, like Chua said. Loreto managed to close up Freshmart's eye, and he was giving him a lot of trouble. It's just that he kind of gassed out in the later rounds, and Freshmart was able to kind of dirty it up in the championship rounds, especially to kind of salvage his title. Because honestly, if it hadn't been for that knockdown, I had it basically a draw. He won on 1 point on my card because of the draw. And then the judges, I guess, he got kind of a hometown judging. Freshmart did, because the other judges, or the three judges, one of them had it 115 to 113, which I think is a fair score, and the other two had it 117 to 110, which I think is being way too generous for Freshmart, considering the amount of adversity that Loreto was putting him through. But, hopefully Loreto gets another title shot, because I think he's still one of the more prolific fighters at 105 or 108, just that weight range. And then as for Freshmart, I'd imagine he's probably going to be fighting Byron Rojas on a rematch sometime soon. Byron Rojas is the one that upset Henky Butler last year in the 25-1 upset, and then lost another razor-thin decision to Freshmart. So I think he managed to find his way back into contention. He definitely deserves a rematch at Freshmart. He may be able to get him this time.
Yeah. The weird thing about this fight was both guys were kind of centered of the ring. No one was going backwards. So you think it wasn't an inside fight. They were kind of fighting at distance, but they were just standing in front of each other. So I thought it'd be more of a tear-up, but there was a lot of missed punches from both guys. Some of the combinations from Loreto I really like. He was a southpaw, and he would throw a really nice kind of left hand, right uppercut, left hand again, and he was landing sometimes he was missing. But Freshmart, it's just that home crowd advantage, man. Like I think that probably got to some of the judges as well, because every time he would even maybe just glance a shot that would just about land or skim off Loreto, like the crowd would, hey, they were really getting into it. And it's size-wise, is Loreto really big for the weight, or Freshmart small, or because they look?
Oh, Freshmart's really short. He's only 5'1", if that. He's listed at 5'1".
Yeah.
I think Loreto's listed at 5'2", but he's definitely taller than that. I think that was when he was still a kid, because he turned pro at 16, 17. So, Manny Pacquiao dimensions basically.
Shit. All right. But it was an okay fight. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It just lacked a bit of drama and excitement.
Yeah. It wasn't even necessarily as exciting as the aforementioned fight that I mentioned between Freshmart and Rojas, and I think that rematch would be another good one, because Rojas, he just comes at you, and he's throwing 100 punches around. So I think that rematch is a solid one. And for everybody in the chat, no, that's not his real name. Knockout CB Freshmart is his promoted name, but his real name is Tamadun Niamtrong.
On point. Pronunciation on point. Okay, let's go. Leon, you had to go away for work last week, so you missed the show regarding Josh Taylor and Ahara Davis.
Yeah, I missed going. I missed the whole event. I was gutted when I finally got to see it. Watched it back when I landed, and the atmosphere looked amazing. And I listened to the show, and you guys seemed to have a great night. I'm gutted to have missed it. Go on.
It was indeed, man. Dan was offered to see someone's funny. Well, a lady's funny, so he was happy. Yeah,
he wasn't. Was he ready for the Glaswegian women?
I don't think he was, but now he's a proper man. So let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Fantastic. Davis is shit, isn't he? That was a fucking horrible performance.
Davis the crab.
What was he doing? What was that little fucking little arm? Like he's doing the chicken dance. That elbow is flicking out. That was weird, right?
Bad Victor Chinian impression.
I was just bad all round, man. I mean, and look, people we criticise people for quitting, and people say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never been in the ring. You've never been in a professional fight." But to turn your back on a guy like that, like he had no stomach for it, and like his stomach went. Like he knew he couldn't win, and he knew he was going to lose, and he quit. He quit hard. I mean, that's a bad quit.
Very bad.
Like that's one of the worst. That's one of the worst quits I've seen.
After all that shit you talked, and the worst thing, he's still talking shit. Like after that Robbie Davis Jr. fight, he was like making fun of like Davis getting stopped, but he went out on his shield. He didn't turn around and said, "Oh, I got a bogey in my nose. No, stop the fight." You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it seemed like as Hamada and then as Leon correctly corrected Hamada about in the chat and everything, and alluded to it. I guess he really wasn't from the streets, from the tough streets anyway, as much as he tried to purport himself that he was.
Look, I lived in Hackney for nearly 18 years, Cam, and that's a tough place. I mean, it might have got a bit gentrified now, but I've seen 8-year-olds fight with more heart on the streets of Hackney than what he had. Like, Hamada's right when he said he can't go back there. Like, I don't understand. I know a few people. I know one person who kind of knows people around him. Like, he's a chemist, shall we say, is a nice way of putting it. And like no one was impressed. No one from those streets of Hackney was impressed with anything they saw.
Let's reverse it though. What did you think of Taylor?
He looked very good, didn't he? I mean, I think O'Hara maybe gave him, I'm not going to say issues, like the first couple of rounds he maybe like, what the fuck's he doing? Like that kind of issue. Like, what's he up to? I don't know what.
Perplexed.
We didn't quite know what to expect from him, and then he worked him out very quickly, and then he beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And he got dropped off. He got dropped off a jab, a weird jab. I know he got hurt a little bit before, but it was still a weird. Like he went down weird with that shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad as when I saw Nigel Benn get ice clean off a jab, but I mean, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell he was hurt, but like he shouldn't have been that hurt. Like it almost looked like he was hurt, but like he was hurt more emotionally than he was physically from that shot, and that kind of began the snatching of the soul.
I think he looked like he wanted to quit then. When he went back to the corner of that fight, he looked like he was gone. Yeah. I mean, he did well. Was it in the 5th or the 6th? He went to, stepped to him, and until that quit, I think you could almost say, look, he's got some heart. He can take a punch. He's doing well to stay in there. But any of those thoughts were evaporated by that quit.
Definitely, but
because I wanted to say, I don't know if we've got that clip, but the thing that I was away, so I was just kind of following everything, the week's boxing on Twitter and stuff when I could, and that speech by Eubank Sr. on quitting, that's what I've been boxing for. Like, that's what O'Hara didn't show. Did you see that clip?
Yeah,
I haven't.
I'm gonna try and see if I can pull it up. Can you send it me on WhatsApp again, and then I'll
yeah,
I'll play it
it's just in there. If you go back a few messages.
Yeah, but it's quite a lot of messages though.
Yeah, let me do it now. Yeah.
That's okay. I found it.
Yeah, like I just think this is like, I know the man talks a lot of shit, but for me, this sums up why I was a fan of him when I was growing up. And why I like what he believes in when it comes to staying in a fight. And, you call me a fanboy if you like, but I want to hear more boxers talking like this, personally.
I'm just trying to bring you up now. Twitter's loading really slow, but...
Yeah, if we can't, we'll post it. But yeah, it'd be good. I wanted to play it.
We're here.
It wasn't bad. the observation of Kell Brook wasn't bad. I can show you, eye injury. When a man goes down, no, you don't have the right. That's not that's not in the rule book of the Warriors Code. It's the referee to stop. You have to carry on taking a beating. And as odd as that may sound, because of what's happened to the likes of Michael Watson and Gerald McClellan and all the fighters who have fallen, it is still this code. Okay, we are not you. We are not. No, we can't be normal. We are not allowed to be normal. I've been in fights where I wanted to wet myself. The beating was so bad, but I had no choice. Why? Because integrity doesn't allow. No one stopped that fight when I went 12 rounds with Carl Thompson. And no one actually felt sorry for me either. What is this feeling sorry for fighters because they're hurt? You're supposed to get hurt. I don't show my 19 championship wins or those pictures. I show people this. Badge of honor. That's my championship. I could take it. Because that's, in actual fact, what it's really about. Can you take a beating? And then when you've taken that beating, bow and accept it like a gentleman. Now that is the cut of the man you want your own son to be.
Amazing.
And now some people might find that too much, and I think there's a few and there was a reaction to it that they thought that that a boxer has a right to put his safety first, and I guess they do, but that's what I grew up on, and that's what I read off, and that's what my dad told me about, and this is why I got into sport, is because of that attitude. And I just thought it was refreshing to hear someone say what a lot of us think, but we just called haters and all these kind of things, so we say someone quit and we don't expect them to quit because like he said, boxers aren't like us.
Yeah. Because you get like Paul Smith saying, well, you never stepped into the ring. Eubank Sr. is telling you everything. That's their job, that's their heart. They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be quitting, man. And
it's the thing that rings true is, what is this feeling sorry for boxers? 'Cause that's the thing. It's just fans and fighters are horribly sensitive. Like this is a blood sport. I watch it because it's on the edge, like it's kind of wrong. That's one of the things that attracts people to it, and because it's brutal, right? And I just like hearing a fighter reflect that and mean it, and I think a lot of fighters believe what he said, and more of them should come out and say it. Because he don't give a shit, does he? He's not friend. No, he's got no friends. No one's friends with him. He's a fucking weirdo and a mad case. So he can say whatever he likes. The other people who talk on the sport, they're worried they're going to upset someone. Yeah. So kudos to him, the mad bastard.
He's got one friend in Chemo, that's for sure. But that's pretty much it. But,
Chemo's friends with everyone. He's a friend slut.
We should talk about that Taylor Davies fight for the rest of our lives, Cam. Like every week, just have like a new opinion on that fight. No, I don't want to.
Just 10 minutes at the end of the show.
Yeah. And, no, it is true though. It is stunning, just the type of experience that I had watching it live and then rewatching it afterwards. It's such a different fight. As stupid as that sounds. Like I mentioned when we were there, I thought it was a fairly competitive fight, and then afterwards, it wasn't at all. And I'm just really curious to see what Taylor's progression is going to be like, because with 10 fights at his age, I wouldn't be surprised if for the next 5-6 fights he fights just domestic level competition and he doesn't improve whatsoever. I think he's good enough to take that next step and fight for a title in 3 fights. And especially with the way the 40 division is playing out with Crawford and that other guy probably going to duke it out fairly soon. And it seems like it's pretty open competition. So it should be strap season for my boy.
I think and I hope it will be the latter. Like the way his intentions are, and like the way Cyclone and McGuigan's are, I don't think they'll just put him in there against 5 domestic level guys. I think they'll kind of look for, some type of title eliminator or something where he'll be fighting for a title maybe within 2 or 3 fights.
Sure, that'd be great. I'd love to go back to that city and see
that fight.
Taylor versus like a Burns. Yeah. Potentially. But yeah, it was great, man. Like the way those fans turn out. Like I think Taylor's going to be really, really good, man. As long as he can make the weight healthy and in a healthy fashion, I think like he has so many different skill sets. So he's a really, really good fighter. Happy to have seen him live.
Definitely.
I'm glad.
You're glad. Leon, Neo to Lim. Anything else regarding this week's fights?
Nah.
What's the big card?
Say that again.
Who's fighting? What's the big event?
No, I'm talking about the past week. All the fights that happened. Anything else regarding that before we move on?
The stuff moves, yeah.
Let's just move on to your guys' scorecards for the May Mac press conferences. How do you guys score so far?
0-0.
Yeah.
I've actually
Didn't watch it. Don't care. The only thing I care about is when the night happens and what happens on the night of the fight.
You actually bring up a good point, Lim, because I need to shit on boxing scene for the last 2 weeks because we had this fallover of Pacquiao versus Horn for like entire week. Oh, Aram says that Pacquiao's corner was a mess. Pacquiao says he got robbed. Horn said it was easy work and I'll do it again.
Freddie Roach says that Pacquiao should retire, but he still won the fight.
Yeah, Freddie Roach says, I think money's man at me, I'm not being paid. It turned into like OK Magazine, Leon.
That's just boxing media in general. Like you visit any kind of YouTube boxing channel, and they use the IFL template, like word for word, like 3 parentheses hype or 3 parentheses raw.
Intense. Now I understand that, Leon. Sorry, Lim, but it didn't happen for like 2 days. It was for like 7 days, man. It was just every time you check into boxing scene to see if there's any fights getting announced, it was just all sucking Aram or Pacquiao or Roach.
And that'll like knock actual like legit boxing stories like by the wayside and shit, like off the front page, like where they really should be before the day's even over.
Yeah, so we had that for a week, and then basically for another week we had just bullshit about press conferences. Like, okay, they're in London, they're in Toronto. Floyd said faggot to him.
McGregor called him a boy.
He called him boy.
McGregor
Yeah,
the racist.
Yeah, man, it was just awful, man. Like it was 2 weeks of horror on boxing scene.
Can I just say one thing on that comment? On that, it's difficult, right? Because it is a cultural difference that's going on with that. I don't know how much time McGregor spends in the States, but me and my friends call me boy, and like we use that in a different way over here. You all right, boy? Like it's a different term. I mean, definitely in London, but I mean, I know it's got connotations over there that no one wants to get involved in. But their willingness to use that word to sell a story, to sell this fight, is just an L for for the world. It's just their willingness to jump onto that as a storyline is shameful on both sides.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same thing is like,
It's a cultural difference, but we're not allowed. So it's difficult. Maybe he did mean it.
No,
Maybe
but I mean,
he is a white supremacist. I don't know.
Even the Mayweathers said like, "Oh, that's bullshit. Get the fuck out of here with that." You know what I mean? But
look,
the media is gonna do what it does. So there you
go. I'm glad he said it, and because people get offended.
Same thing as with when they're calling McGregor a faggot. I mean, it's not like he's saying like, kill all the gays and shit.
No, that's what I mean. I'm glad.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was saying. I'm glad Floyd called him a faggot because it's funny because people got upset, and it's also funny because it's people having a go at Floyd. So I'm happy with both.
I've said faggot 50 billion times on the Marshall Mathers LP, and then he did a fucking concert with John Lennon. So I mean, exactly like how are we picking and choosing our moments to be outraged?
Yeah, it's just the whole thing's a fucking just tripe, isn't it? Really, but. I just wanted to say that thing on that thing. I just thought it was ugly how it jumped on that quickly, man.
It's just a part of the whole circus atmosphere. People sensationalizing every little fucking thing. And it's gonna be shit like, oh, what did so and so have for breakfast today? And oh, McGregor fucking stopped a little bit abruptly at that stoplight while he was cruising around in a sports car. And what does that mean? And, get the fuck out of here.
But do you know what I mean? Now that's the ugly. That subject is the ugliest thing that boxing has. I mean, especially stateside, and their willingness to just jump and pile into that storyline shows. I mean, it's horrible, man.
Yeah.
Lim, is there anything like you do want to mention from the press conferences?
No, I was just trolling.
Oh, that's okay then. Couple news: Billy Joe Saunders is fighting Willie the Mongoose.
Shit, my bad. I think did I say John Lennon earlier? I meant Elton John.
Yeah, Elton John, you maniac. You'll have more haters in Liverpool than I do.
Nah, that's not possible, Leon. Come on.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to change my plans if I ever visit in the UK now.
You'll never go to Liverpool.
I don't think the
Called their hero.
I don't think the coalition Nando's meetup will happen in Liverpool.
No one wants to see us in Liverpool.
Yeah, Saunders versus Willie the Mongoose, man. I don't like this fight. A lot of people are like positive about it, but I think it's a shit fight, to be honest.
They both kind of fight.
It's funny.
That's the thing. Like they're both going to be going backwards. So who's going to engage?
Neither. So we all take an L in that fight. No, I hear you. Stylistically, this fight doesn't make any sense to me because they both did their best work on their back foot. Yeah. So and neither of them really have that much power either. I mean, Saunders doesn't have much power from the fights that I've seen, and Willie certainly doesn't have that much power either. And
I'd say Saunders can crack a bit more, but I mean we're not talking earth-shattering power here.
Sure, it's just I don't know. And plus, like, I don't get the timing of it all. Like, it's on the same day as Triple G Canelo. Are they really trying to have the winner of that fight the winner of the other fight? That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. So I don't know.
And Leon also. So
go on.
No, well, you know my thoughts on the fight. Just like the poster was announced today, and it's got obviously Willie on it and Billy Joe on it, and then you just got like Anthony Yarde will be on the card and Daniel Dubois will be on the card. But when their opponents are not on the fight card, you know the opponents are going to be shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Frank's in a kind of it's like second stage for him, part 2, isn't it, for Box Nation and BT, and they're having to build these guys back up again. But is there no? I thought Flanagan might be on this card. No, none of these.
It's interesting you say that because I'm looking at my favourite gossip website at the moment, Boxing Scene, and it's saying that Flanagan suffered a leg injury, so the Video fight's postponed.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Yeah, I get why they've picked Monroe because that's the only guy they can fucking get. That's the honest truth of it, isn't it? I mean, Billy Joe's career has been a mess. Then this guy that we all love ends up being a fucking extra from Goodfellas. I mean, you can't expect that, to be fair to them. So I think Willie the Worm's the best they could get.
Yeah. What do you think, Naruto?
That's not a bad fight. I mean, I don't mind it, really, I mean, how many guys really are ranked ahead of Willie Monroe? To speak of anyway, like as middleweight. I mean, I know that he wasn't in any hurry, I don't think, to fight Ryota Murata, even though I think that would have been an excellent fight, and Murata is still ranked in the WBO after that ridiculous fucking decision that he got against Ndam. I mean, other than him...
How come you can always get an Asian fighter into the conversation?
Hey, Murata deserves to be in the conversation, man. So, there it is. But yeah, I mean, Monroe's a serviceable opponent, and I think he might be able to give Billy Joe Saunders some problems too. I think it's actually a closer fight than you guys are giving it credit for. Because Saunders is in Golovkin, and he looked pretty shitty in his last fight. So I mean, I think him versus Monroe may have some fairly interesting moments, even though I still favor Saunders to win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I mean,
Neil.
from the American podcast I listen to, I don't think he's very well perceived over there, is he, Billy Joe? So, I mean, I think you'll find there'll be Yanks picking Willie and Brits picking Billy Joe. And I think that's probably just because neither of us trusts in either side, so we're just going to go with the guy we know best, right? I mean, I don't think...
I don't think anybody gives a fuck about the Worms over here, Leon.
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
if I could count the number of fans, I could really count them with both of my hands. I mean, I don't know anybody who said, well, I want to watch Willie Monroe Jr. fight. Happen.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only segment of fans that would possibly, I think, give Willie Monroe credit would probably immediately take it away from him because he got blown out by Golovkin. And a lot of those guys aren't really very keen on giving Golovkin very much credit for anything. So they're definitely not going to look to prop up Monroe in any fashion.
Very true.
And I think the whole fact, again, the fact that this fight is going to get overshadowed by Triple G Canelo, just I think kind of speaks in a nutshell how people perceive the fight. You know, they don't really give a fuck about it. So it's weird. I think Billy Joe kind of lost a shitload of momentum since about a year ago when he was slated to potentially fight Canelo, but now that Canelo's fighting Triple G in September, you know, it seems like everybody else is kind of put to the side.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did it to himself though too, so you can't really.
He definitely did it to himself. Yeah.
And circumstances as well, obviously, like we've discussed. But yeah, I don't know. I know you guys, like you over there in the UK, you guys have a different opinion. But I like Billy Joe just because I find him entertaining. I like watching his interviews. I think he's really funny, so I don't mind him.
I mean, laughing at the mentally ill, Dan, it's not in great taste.
Anyway.
But look, I'm just having a look at this middleweight, like, top 20 on BoxRec, and you can't trust BoxRec's rankings because they're mental, aren't they? But, I mean, this is a piss-poor division, man.
Yeah, it's pretty how much it's changed.
Cam, they've got Jack Armfield in the top 20.
Oh, shit.
But they got Murata at 17, but Sam Solomon at 15. Fucking hell, they've got Ishe Smith ahead of Murata. They've got Martin Murray still in the top 10, and he's... Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, this division's pony, man.
I think it's because they use some kind of algorithm, so it's like predicated on...
It's a weird algorithm. It's like, if you fight a guy on their home turf and it's not your home turf, you get extra points for that, as though that matters for some reason. All kinds of weird shit. It changes like every day too. If you ever actually post on their forums, they talk about how it's really not meant to be an actual ranking system. It's really not. It's not meant for that. So people that use that are kind of using something that they shouldn't really be using in the first fucking place.
Yeah, no, you're right. I was just using it as the quickest way to have a look at who's in the division, and it's not looking great.
Well, I mean, just looking at the WBO rankings, you have David Lemieux, Murata, Rob Brandt, who's in the World Boxing Super Series, Daniel Jacobs, Francis Lafreniere, Walter Kautondovko, something like that, Jamal Charlo, Tommy Langford, Maciej Leckie, Luis Arias. Arias would be a good fight. Conrad Cummings, Rafael Bergeron, and Emmanuel Lee.
All right, I think we get the big.
Yeah, I went on way too long with that.
Leon just made me aware that BoxRec have Jeff Horn pound for pound number 8.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't want to I just swanned over. You just ignored that.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. They rank him even higher than I do, because apparently I think that Horn will destroy everybody. So there you go.
Your top
causing trouble.
Your top 10 pound for pound just have loads of Asian fights.
Not too many. I mean, hey, Inoue and Yamanaka pretty much is it.
Naoto, looking at boxing scene, saying that Joe Smith suffered a broken jaw in the second round of the Barrera fight.
Oof.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would kind of explain a little bit of the rest of his performance. And actually also, why they kept icing his jaw. I noticed that. And they even mentioned in the commentary, too, Lampley did, that Smith had, like, once fought a fight with, like, the entire fight with his jaw broken before. And that might be why the referee at the time was threatening to stop the fight, because he was saying, like, oh, you don't normally fight like this. You know, I'm kind of concerned about you and stuff. And he mentioned his jaw being broken in that past fight as a reference to the referee thinking that, he might be injured and I might have to stop it just based off of the fact that he might not have a solid chance to win this fight if he is injured, because and that injury could potentially be something more threatening to him, which would of course fall back on the referee if he didn't stop it. But I mean, hey, that might explain a little bit of why he was completely out of his depth. I mean, I'm sure that Barrera probably still would have outboxed him anyway, but at the same time, fighting through a broken jaw is no joke. And then on the flip side of that, there have been plenty of fighters that have fought and won with broken jaws. Look at Ali or Arthur Abraham when he fought Edison Miranda, even though that was a little bit of an iffy one. It was still close enough for him to actually win it. So, I mean, hey, Smith is a tough son of a bitch. Can't take that away from him. But I think he just needs to improve some things, and he could be right back there in it.
Yeah, BoxRec say that he suffered his first broken jaw against Eddie Camaro 5 years ago in his first loss, but I kind of take back a bit what I said about him being basic then. He still is basic, but having to fight through a broken jaw and like every time you get touched on that side, it's going to be excruciating, so props to him. We talk about guys quitting and all that, but he didn't have no quitting him and he continued, so props to Joe Smith.
Yeah, man, he didn't pull a Davies.
Yep.
And then he did what Eubank was talking about. He did what Eubank was just talking about. You can't be normal, and he lived up to that.
Definitely. Next week, wise guys, not much to preview really. Looking at the schedule, there's a card tomorrow, a PBC card on Fox Sports 1. Chris Avalos, Naoto's favourite fighter, against Miguel Flores. Charles Martin returns against Michael Marone. And Chemo's cousin, Ahmed El-Biali, against Leo Hall. But it's pretty smallish card, this one, isn't it, Nicky?
Yeah, that'll be an entertaining card.
Wait, where is it?
It's in Alexandria, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Louisiana?
Yeah, baby.
What? Fuck? Is that PBC?
Of course.
Yeah. Gotta download the Brown Sugar app and sign up for the free trial.
Yeah, well, Leon, we probably won't be able to see these fights until like maybe 3 months until PBC put it on their own YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's gonna be on Fox Sports 1 for what it's worth.
Yeah, but we're not staying up. We're not staying up at 3 o'clock to watch that, Naoto.
Yeah, yeah, true.
If it's 1 o'clock, I might do. What time is it?
Probably start about 2. 3.
I don't know. I'd have to check my TV guide. I could check in a second, but
to be honest,
Avalos versus Flores might be a fun fight though.
Just to interrupt you, Nicky.
Things considered.
Leon, I'm shocked that you'd stay up till 1 to watch this.
I might do.
You're a ghoul.
Might do. I might fall asleep and wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the sofa, but I'll give it a good go, Cam.
You'd attempt to watch it. Sorry for
got no quitting me.
It's coming on at 6 Pacific, so that is
2 over here.
Yeah, it's about 2 a.m. for you guys.
Yeah, for now.
Go on, Nicky. I interrupted you. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, but I was saying though, Flores versus Avalos actually might be a pretty fun fight. It might actually kind of look like when Avalos fought Mark Magsayo, because Flores is a guy that he was kind of a hot prospect on the rise, or so PBC thought, and then he got kind of walked down and like panicked against a fairly limited fighter named Dat Nguyen, and he got stopped in the 6th round and just kind of freaked out. And who knows? I mean, hey, maybe Avalos will be able to drag him into those deep waters again. And but I think the way they match up, it might be a pretty fun action fight between the two of them. I mean, definitely a low level type of fight for two guys that aren't really like featherweight contenders or anything. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Flores will have learned from that experience and be able to recover and go on to better things. I mean, there have been fighters with worse losses for sure, but it might be a pretty good fight to watch though.
I think
and then you got Edwin Rodriguez on that card too, so I mean, he's always fun to watch. You know, that guy's a fucking maniac. He's basically like watching Fight Night Round 3, just like have both of the characters be the CPU and let him loose. So
Power punch.
I'm sure he'll score a highlight reel knockout.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I didn't know he was on it. He was fighting a guy 17-14 though, so
yeah,
don't know about that.
Probably
one.
won't get too much resistance, but I mean, hey, it's Edwin Rodriguez. He pretty much fights like a bar fighter, so he may take some licks.
And the Prince is back, as I've already said. Prince Charles Martin. But yeah, it's pretty shitty card to be honest. What else is there? Sunday.
Craig
Sorry?
fighting. You know the guy beat Boy Jones.
Where's he fighting?
It's in like Norwich. I don't even know. I'm just seeing if it's online anywhere. It's like just the southern area. But that's the only UK fight.
Yeah, UK is kind of dead until September. But Nikki, there's a card in Japan, and is that on Sunday?
That is on. Yeah, I think that's on Sunday. Jose Argumedo versus Hiroto Kyoguchi. Kyoguchi is actually like kind of a contender. I'm actually really surprised I got him this fight against Argumedo, because Argumedo to me is pretty much like the second best fighter at the 105-pound division, right behind Monahan Manayothin. And that's only because I think Manayothin has been a little bit more consistent, whereas Argumedo just had a couple of big wins. But his win over Takayama, now retired Takayama, is probably the biggest one easily out of any fighter that's down there. But Kyoguchi is a guy that, 7-0 with 6 knockouts. He's fancied himself a bit of a puncher. Had his first distance fight in his last fight, though, and that was a big step up in class. So it might be just that the power came with fighting lower-level opposition. And we'll see here against Argumedo. I've mentioned Argumedo before because of the fact that he's promoted and managed by Canelo Promotions, by the Reynosos, Chepo, and his son Eddie. So, I mean, we could very well see him at some point in one of these Golden Boy cards, maybe a Canelo undercard. But for now, he's going and getting that money over in Japan, and I'd imagine he'll win. But, I mean, with Kyoguchi, I mean, the run that Japan's been having at the lower weights lately, I mean, sure, they had all the belts at 108 for a day until Milindo upset the odds against Yagashi. He may be able to pull some things off. And then the co-feature of that fight is light flyweight title fight, Ryuichi Taguchi versus Robert Barrera. In what should be a really good fight between those two. Taguchi had the toughest fight of his career in his last fight against Carlos Canizales. Canizales had one of the closest fights of his career against this fighter, Robert Barrera. So, I mean, triangle theories being what they are, aside from that, you'd imagine that Taguchi versus Barrera is going to be a solidly fought, evenly matched fight between the two of them. And I pretty much expect that. I think it'll be a fun fight to watch. Taguchi's usually a fun watch. He's a guy that throws a lot of punches, a very active fighter, especially for somebody that's that tall at that weight class. Normally they're just trying to zone guys out, but he looks to go in there and punish you. And Barrera's a guy that, I mean, he moves around a bit, but he throws quite a few punches of his own. And he's definitely going to be looking to win that title, coming up where his rival came up short. So he may be able to get kind of a one-up on the guy that beat him by beating the man that beat him. So that's pretty much the Tokyo card.
Bad.
That's really it for the weekend. Leon, I think I might be able to go through a weekend where my wife doesn't diss me for watching loads of boxing. Yeah,
absolutely. I think... But do you know the shitter is fucking Ruth's away for the weekend? Like the one weekend where I need boxing, fuck's sake. I have to watch golf or some shit, won't I?
Ah, shit.
L.
But yeah, anything else from you guys? Just looking at boxing, seeing Robert Guerrero's decided to retire. I think we can all agree that's the right decision, I guess.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it seemed like for a number... Well, I don't want to say a number of years, but at least a couple of years now, that he was largely fighting for the money. I mean, just going back, I had an argument with or not an argument, but like a discussion with somebody on YouTube about, what the best move of the missteps of his career and everything. And the thing is, when I remember the night when his wife first got diagnosed with cancer, because he was fighting Martin Honorio that night on Showbox, and he went in there and knocked him out in the first round. and he made probably not more than $15,000 or $20,000 for that fight. And he went from making poverty wages basically to fighting Berto and Mayweather for millions within a couple of years. And so, for his sake, he probably felt like it's better to fight for the big money rather than to fight for double digit, or like five figures against like Casamayor and such. He made the decision I think that was right for him at the time, and even though he probably and possibly could have gone back down eventually, I'd imagine he was probably in the mindset like, I have to make this money work and secure both my wife and my kids' futures and everything, and he did a good job all along the way. You can't never say that. Similar to how we mentioned with Joe Smith and with what Eubank said earlier, he fought his entire career like a warrior, whether it was on the losing end or the winning end. He always showed a lot of heart, and he went out kind of the way that most fighters go out. I mean, it just tends to be the way that it is for 90% of these guys. And Figueroa is on to bigger and better things, and hopefully Guerrero is able to enjoy his retirement and enjoy the riches that he managed to establish for himself.
Well said, Neota.
Yeah.
Leon, Lim, Nikki, anything else you want to discuss before we go?
Nah, I'm tapped out.
Nah, man. We've got there's a lot of fights next week, isn't there? So there'll be lots to talk about.
Yeah, the week after.
Yeah, the week after. But next Monday's show there'll be a lot of stuff to preview because that's a very, very busy weekend, isn't it? With some proper fights.
Yeah, that's the pattern, man. Slow weekend, fast weekend.
Yep. Story of living
I could have
life.
done with one of these fights being this weekend, really.
Oh well, you just have to watch something else, Leon.
Yeah,
man. You want to announce like our new spin-off podcast to the chat and to our listeners? Our new Game of Thrones podcast. We're going to do that every Sunday right after the show ends. Local anytime. It's going to be I think around 5, 4:30 in the afternoon for West Coast California time. So 7:30 for East Coast. So that's every Sunday after Game of Thrones ends. Catch us live. We'll break down all the shows, what happened in the previous episode, and it's what might happen in the last 14 episodes.
Predictions.
Lim, I've got a name for you for the podcast.
Yep.
Dragons Only.
Oh.
Oh. That's a great name.
Nailed it.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm gonna work on a
Fucking
logo.
dragons.
I'm gonna work on a logo right now after the show.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, Lim. Anything else?
That's it, man. Catch us on Sunday. We'll be on Mixler, Blog Talk Radio, on YouTube,
Patreon account.
Yeah, we'll be on Patreon. You gotta pay 99 cents for audio and $9.99 for video.
Yeah.
Hey, Lim, you've got that Patreon shit. Didn't Jose get iced?
Hey, you won't believe this, Leon. So I have a $3 account, right? So I can only watch videos that are $3 for $2 patrons, and they upped it to patrons only. And I looked at my screen, I was like, "What the fuck? I can't even see this guy getting iced because I only paid $3. You motherfuckers!"
Oh, man.
Vernon and I have enough accounts so I cannot view those videos, unfortunately.
They're getting greedy, man. They're getting greedy.
That's a big L, though. That's a big L.
Yeah, seriously.
That's hard to come back from. That's retirement time.
Seriously.
See, I want to see that guy get starched on his back. That'd be amazing.
Who was
No,
Jose fighting?
Fast.
Casual. Who was Jose fighting? Casual.
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 Ah, shit.
He was voided up, though. I reckon. Take the test. He was voided with tits.
Yo, Lim, he was too fast for Jose.
He was fast. I heard he's pretty fast, dude. But Jose's an athletic bastard, so I'm sure it was a pound-for-pound level contest. For sure.
I bet.
No,
It's a long road back. It's a long road back from here. I worry for him.
Yo, Lim, I think you should pay those extra dollars, and then we can just rip the video and then bootleg it.
Yes, do it. You can make gifts.
Come on, man. They worked too hard. No, I can't do that.
They don't. They didn't work hard enough, did he? Obviously. Fucking ice.
Alright, let's call it a night, guys. Thank you, Leon, Neota, Lim. Thanks to all the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the number one flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically bun you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want one portion of crow or two portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Fringe side?
But you won't crush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.